Welcome to Show Sunday. I did not showcase an anime this time. Even live action, which is another shock, I guess. The show that I brought up to these guys is actually something that I just only found out about and started watching with my family a couple weeks back. But I was like, oh, this might actually be really interesting to show for a Show Sunday because it's something that we actually haven't seen before. So the show that I recommended was The Last Dance.
Yep, and I know that Tara said not to look up anything about it, and I didn't, except that when I was editing the Home Alone video, I had to find the poster. So then I was like, basketball. Okay.
See, it did go because in Home Alone you saw there was the basketball player dude that went around on the choo-choo train.
Oh yeah.
See?
Wait, was that Michael Jordan?
I don't think it was Michael Jordan.
Well,
I don't remember who it was.
I can't picture the number that was on that guy's jersey.
I don't
so
remember.
I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he had a red uniform, so we don't know.
I don't know because Home Alone was made in 1990, and like the main story of that happening for here is like 90 was kind of right after that. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but
You know.
it is interesting though because again, like to borrow a quote from a certain person, we're all sportos here, meaning we're not. But of course, like Michael Jordan is one of those people who like you know who he is. Right.
Yeah, you always know
everyone
who he
on
is.
Earth probably knows who Michael Jordan is.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So, and everyone knows. Okay, they know who he is. He plays basketball, and he's really good, right? Like that's like everyone knows. And then
There's like Air Jordans.
Yeah, but like in terms of the specifics, I don't know anything, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing about they won all these championships in a row or whatever. And I was like, I mean. It makes sense that if he was the best player ever, then like they should have won some championships. But I didn't know that specifically. I don't know. So, but I've kind of said this before. I don't know if I've actually said this like to you guys or in like a recording, but a sort of and I didn't expect this to be a documentary like at all either. I thought I was thinking this would maybe be some sort of like reenactment sort of story, kind of like Remember the Titans or something, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's a documentary, and documentaries are definitely, they can be made to be really good and get you invested in something that you don't really have a connection with to begin with. And I think this does that job.
Watching how he made those shots, I was like, can a human do that?
Yeah, it kind of makes you realize, as Val said, Michael Jordan is one of those people that you know about, and I mean, when he was still playing for the Chicago Bulls, we were alive, it's just that we were wee little toddlers.
Yeah, we weren't involved in the story, basically.
No,
Yeah.
involved. I mean, I'm pretty sure by the time any of us can actually remember anything, he had already left and stuff like that. Like he played until 1998, and I was like, yeah, there's no way I would have actually remembered. But it's really interesting. Like when my brother suggested it a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, it's a thing about Michael Jordan and stuff like that. But as Valen said, I didn't know about the fact he won 5 championships. I didn't know about how great of a player he was. Like when you see him on screen and stuff, you're like, oh.
And again, can a human do that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like also how the documentary kind of splices in the stuff about stuff that happened in the past too, and it explains things in that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So for people like us, where maybe we don't know everything there is to know about Michael Jordan and stuff, we can still kind of understand it and everything, which I also appreciated because up until this point, I knew about Air Jordans and I knew he was a great basketball player. And I mean, my mom is a very big Michael Jordan fan, and she remembers like watching his games and stuff. And while we were watching this, she was actually like, "Oh, I remember this game" and stuff like that. And she would be like, she'd recognize all the players and everything. And I was like, "Oh, that's actually kind of interesting." Like hearing it from a perspective of someone who actually like lived through this and watched and like was following the team and everything too.
She's part of basketball history.
Yeah, it's just I saw it and I thought this is something that I want to show you guys. It was just really interesting, and I'm happy you guys enjoy it. At least, presumably, Maya, and you also enjoy it too.
Yeah, there was this one time I kind of laughed out loud because, like, they interviewed Obama, but the little description they put was former resident of Chicago.
That was what I was about to say. Damn it, you stole my line. Okay, whatever.
I'm sorry, but I was just like, Obama?
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he couldn't afford tickets to go to the Bulls game because he was in college at the time.
What I didn't know was also that basketball was like a dying franchise at the time. Like when they were describing like how indoor soccer used to be like more popular of a sport and everything like that, it was like, oh, this. I guess I just always assumed that all the sports kind of were around for a long time, and I didn't really think about like the fact that basketball's kind of quote unquote a relatively new mainstream sport.
Well, no, I think no, it's not that it was new. It's just that the popularity was definitely not there as much as it is now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really know about that either. But it is definitely, a lot more popular now, right? Even though, of course, Michael Jordan's not playing anymore. But there's a lot of stuff that's still going on that people know about. My take on this actually, well, not take, but my experience is a little bit interesting because I actually, throughout like middle school, I actually played basketball. So I at least kind of know how to play. And so that was kind of the sense of like what you're saying, like how can he do all the stuff he's doing? And so I'm looking at this like, okay, I like get the theoretical how, but like still how. So
you're like, I can't do that.
Yeah. It is interesting though, because like I don't know. I did have this moment where because they mentioned he's 6'6", and I'm like, that's not that isn't that tall for basketball players, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just kind of like, huh.
Like 7-footers and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
So that was interesting, but yeah, just he's I do like also it is interesting because like even in addition to just him being a great player, he definitely had this it was a celebrity status, but it wasn't like a celebrity attitude. Yeah. Right? Because he was always known, I remember this from like, again, he was in fucking Space Jam, right? It's like, so, they wouldn't have, but he had the presence and the personality of someone who was like, yeah, he's just the nice dude Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's interesting because there's how many times you hear stories about like a famous person who comes up out of nowhere and all of a sudden, once they get really famous, they turn into a giant asshole, right?
I really appreciated like the beginning where they were talking about how he was like, he got on the team like fresh out of college and he like saw the rest of the original team that he got drafted onto. They were like shooting up like cocaine and stuff, and he was like,
that's not how that works, but okay.
I'm gonna go back to my room and chill by myself and just become a college student again.
Yeah.
And like when they showed the video of how he was living in his like townhouse apartment.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, he was not kidding when he said that he just lived like a college student.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. He definitely became this real like, cultural figure of sort of like, he's sort of like the model celebrity kind of.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff. And granted, I don't know a lot of specifics about Michael Jordan, and I'm sure, someone could probably pull up something that he did or said that was not super great at some point, because, almost anyone could have issues with that. But at the same time, though, despite, like, him, of course, being an extremely good player, at least in this documentary, they don't paint him necessarily as, like, completely unfallible, right?
Yeah.
They definitely mention some parts where he sort of, like, they say that he kind of, like, had, where he was like yelling at people because he was like they were annoying him and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, it's not he is the untouchable god. It was like here's this guy who is really, really good, but he he is still a
He's
person.
also a person.
Right.
Yeah.
So it helps with that. And granted, documentaries definitely have an issue where things can be framed to be misleading. So is this exactly the truth? Who knows, right? I'm sure probably some people might know more information than we would, of course, about this stuff. But at least from my point of view, it doesn't seem really like there's like a bad guy or a good guy. Well, I mean, I guess Michael Jordan's the good guy, but you know what I mean? There's not like, oh, it doesn't seem like there is a slant here, right?
There's not. It's not black and white.
Right. So, because for example, it does seem like at times they sort of paint like the manager guy as like kind of a bad guy, but really they also do frame it from the standpoint of his interests were legitimate interests in terms of his job as being a manager for the team. Those interests just conflicted with the players' interests, and you know what I mean? So it set the stage of like, okay, there is an issue here, but it's not just like he's an evil guy, ooh, you know what I mean? There's a reason for it, kind of. So
I guess his like priorities were in a different place. And
yeah.
It's not like, oh, we should fire him and stuff like that.
Right.
Or like,
so yeah, and I do think that you said about the time kind of jumping back and forth a bit. I could see that like that could end up being confusing, but I don't think it ends up working here.
yeah.
So
I think it works because they kind of have a lead up, and then there's like a line or something that someone will say, and then they
show the timeline, and then you're like, oh, okay, we're gonna talk about some history,
Yeah.
or we're gonna go back to the present now.
And it changes with the topic. Like for example, how they started talking about Scottie Pippen and how he had the surgery late and had the issues with the manager then, but then they kind of went back and showed how kind of him coming up into the place, and then since that was in like the mid 80s, then it kind of transitioned into like, okay, but how was Michael Jordan doing in the mid 80s? You know what I mean? So it's like it kind of it does flow decently well with that. And one thing that does have the advantage for us about not really knowing anything about this stuff is the whole premise of this documentary is kind of like, are they going to win the sixth thing, right? The sixth, and I don't know. I legitimately don't know. So
we don't know. We never watched it.
Right. So, which is an advantage for us because if I were to guess, I would guess that they do, but I don't know. Maybe they don't. I'm just guessing that based off of like narrative flow or whatever. But maybe they'll surprise me or I don't know, right? But yeah, and I do think also because another worry is that like, okay, this whole thing is like 10 hours almost, right?
Yeah.
And you could think, could you really spend 10 hours on like this kind of content? Like, ooh, I don't know. It seems like kind of a lot, but I don't know. I mean, for now at least, I feel like they haven't wasted their time with anything, and that they're drawing anything out. So
it seems like they set it up so that like certain other players would be highlighted. Like they dropped Pippen, and then there's like Rodman, I think is his name.
Okay, I totally legitimately forgot Dennis Rodman was like a basketball player at first. I'm just like, oh yeah, it's that dude who was in those weird movies and then he's like friends with Kim Jong-un. Like I totally forgot he was a basketball player. So I was just like,
wait,
oh yeah.
Know that?
So it's like, oh yeah, Dennis Rodman is originally a basketball player. I totally forgot. So yeah, that's weird. But
I think actually the next episode talks about Dennis Rodman. So.
Oh boy. So yeah, he's from what I've seen, he's an interesting individual. So, but yeah, this is definitely not the thing I would normally be looking into watching myself, but I'm curious to see more of it, see where this goes.
Yay!
See what other info we could learn. Yeah.
I'm happy. I know that this is something like way out of left field.
Yeah.
For us. But I'm so happy that you guys are interested in it too, because I was also captured by it too, and I was like, yay, I want to watch more of this. And I think right now we're currently on episode 7.
Oh, so you haven't even finished it?
I haven't finished it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the ending.
Oh,
I don't know what the ending is. We've mainly been watching it while eating dinner and stuff like that, and since it's nice out, we so eat outside and stuff, so the days that we're not eating outside, we watch it and stuff like that, so.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, I definitely, again, well-made documentaries can definitely, work for any sort of topic.
Yeah.
Mm.
One sort of definitely not the same production quality as this, but one of the best examples of that I can think of is on YouTube. The channel Summoning Salt makes sort of documentary style videos on different speedruns of different video games, and
Oh.
it's a lot of it is a fair amount of it. I mean, a lot of it's games that I know about, like Super Mario World or Pokemon, right? And it's like, okay, I know about these games, but I don't really know the speedrun strategies for them a lot of the time. But there's others where it's like I don't really know about them. There's one about, I think the most recent one he did was actually about Contra, and it's like I don't know anything about Contra, right? But like
No
they're
idea.
they're still well made, and it's interesting how it's presented, and it's informative while still being entertaining about what's going on. So, and I've seen a lot of comments of people being like, why am I watching these, but I don't care about this, but like I'm watching these and I'm enjoying it, so okay. And it's just like, yeah, that's how that works. So goes good job for the people creating these things.
Yay! If you guys haven't watched it yet, we definitely give it a go. I mean,
Yeah.
Even if
It's
you have no
something.
idea anything about basketball, then they just like watch it to see the things that Michael Jordan can do, because I still can't get over some of the things that he did.
Yeah. And
Who
they
knows,
and they also
maybe-
at the same time they really don't like bog it down with all like the basketball lingo that would
yeah.
trip
Yeah.
people up. So
I mean, they're creating this documentary. I think, when did it come out? I think.
I think I saw on Wikipedia like it started this last year, I think.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's like they know that they're creating this documentary about something that happened mainly in the 90s and some in the 80s as well, like in 2019. So I kind of appreciate that they understand that fact, as opposed to like making a Home Alone 5 in 2012.
Yeah, and it's helpful for, especially since it is a true story about something that happened, like 25-ish years ago. That
Yeah.
there's
Oh my God.
there's a fair amount of people who don't know the story, like us, right?
Like
Yep.
us.
So yeah,
Like at one point they were like, I think it was when Michael Jordan was in France or something. The timestamp that came up for that was like October 15th, 1997, and I was like, I had just turned 3 years and 1 day old.
yeah.
Happy birthday to me.
Very contemporary.
Yep.
But
Makes me wonder how, if we were born in the 80s, if we would have actually watched like basketball back
I have
then.
no idea.
I have no idea.
Don't know.
I mean, I
Maybe
didn't-
we'd
I
be
didn't-
like Obama at the time, broke as hell, can't afford tickets.
I mean, that's still true now, though.
Yes.
That is, yeah, we don't really watch sports.
Well,
That's why this came as a surprise, and it continues as a happy surprise.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
So,
moving on.
I guess.
Okay.
Yay.
So, you gotta say what you replaced Home Alone with.
Oh yes, yes. I replaced Home Alone with another movie I actually watched. Something else that I watched recently, which is Knives Out. And I don't know, have either of you seen or
I've
heard
seen
of
the
it?
poster, but I don't know much else about it. I just know Keanu Reeves is in it.
Oh, I didn't know that. But I've
Is
heard
it-
of it, and I've heard that most people really like it. It's a sort of like mystery kind of story.
Yes.
And I don't know. It was one of those that like was in the very back of my mind of, hey, maybe you should watch this. But then so well, I guess I will be soon enough. So there you go.
Oh, actually, no, it's not Keanu Reeves. I was probably thinking of a different poster.
Oh,
I was gonna say, I don't think Keanu Reeves is in this movie. There are familiar faces in this movie,
hmm
but
yeah.
Keanu Reeves is not one of those people.
I was probably thinking of a different poster then. I guess I don't know anything about Knives Out besides the name.
Oh, okay, well, I even though I said I know the genre, I don't know like the actual story at all. So yeah, but
That works.
exactly. So, but
What did
time
we
to
get?
we get a thing, and I think we get whatever Mai's first pick is. What is Mai's first
I don't
pick?
remember
It's
what order
they're in.
Stand By Me.
Oh, okay, cool. Another Stephen King thing.
Yes.
Wait,
Let's see if I cry again.
wait, it came out in the 80s, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
See, it goes along with the time. It continues the continuity because
the Troot cinematic universe continues.
Maybe this is a
because
pretty rough connection.
it took place in the 80s. We saw.
Yeah, 86.
See, and then Michael Jordan.
I don't know. I mean, well, none of us have seen this, right?
No.
Okay. Well, maybe there will be something that comes up that actually is more closely related to plot. I don't know.
Perhaps.
Maybe they
Maybe
form
they'll
a basketball team. I don't know. I doubt it,
Maybe
but
it's wearing Nikes or something.
we'll see.
Can't have Air Jordans yet.
Nope.
No,
Unless maybe
there
this.
is actually an episode on Air Jordans.
Really?
Oh, I mean that's kind of expected, I guess.
Nice.
But yeah, okay. Well, we get to Stand By Me, which, all right. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what if it's like the others of these that we've seen so far. I have heard that this is very good. That a lot of people really like this also. So
Isn't it also, I think, referenced in Pokemon too? I think.
is it?
If you're the boy player, I think it says if you look at the TV. I think at least in Fire Red Leaf Green, it's like.
Oh, it's like boys
Stand
walking
By
on
Me is
train
on
tracks or
TV.
something. Yeah. Okay.
and
okay. I
there's
think I do know what you're
little
talking
boys on
about.
the train tracks, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough then. Okay. Well.
At the very least, it connects back to us and having Pokemon. So.
Hooray.
Maybe this is the start of a new timeline. Who knows?
Oh my god, it's getting too complicated. We need to stop. We need to stop before it gets out of hand.
It's already gotten out of hand.
Okay,
What are you
well,
talking about?
let's.
We somehow connected Star Wars to Michael Jordan.
Well,
Space
no,
Jam!
yeah, Space Jam is like it fits
Space
the loop.
Jam!
So that's the closed loop. You have Space Jam going back to Star Wars. So we entered. Okay, so that's your closed loop. Now we're at a new loop.
Yeah.
Wait, but we haven't watched. Oh, okay, I got you.
Look, every human being of our age group has seen Space Jam. Okay, like it's a fundamental constant of the universe.
Yeah, because after presumably he leaves the Bulls, he just goes and does Space Jam.
Actually, when did Space Jam come out? Damn it, now I'm
I don't
curious.
know.
I don't know.
96. Oh wait, so that was
1996.
during when?
Yeah, it's during the timeline.
Oh, how interesting.
Okay, well, the more you know.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay, we need to stop.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.